Good morning, everybody. This is Steve Griffin here with Pam Haffenden of Spectrum Health. I'm from ThinkWise. Thanks for joining us this morning on our team performance survey presentation that Pam's going to gladly walk us through some great intervention organizational development expertise she has with the team performance survey, but specifically how she really enabled the data to come to life and operationalize some of the work that she did with some team effectiveness work at Spectrum. Let me introduce Pam. After years at Deloitte and Amway, Pam Haffenden took the reins over at Spectrum Health, leading the team development function with its healthcare system. I'm going to let Pam do that a little bit more justice and walk through some of the great things she's doing at Spectrum, as well as an introduction to Spectrum to the audience.
Great. Good morning, everybody. As Steve said, my name is Pam Haffenden, and I'm the manager in the organizational development function at Spectrum Health, so manage the team effectiveness function in that area. So I'll talk a little bit about Spectrum Health, a little bit about HR, our organizational development team, team effectiveness, and then ultimately our team effectiveness services, one of which happens to be the team performance survey. So we'll share a case study that really shows a success with the team performance survey and share a couple of other applications that we currently use the team performance survey for. And then finally, I'll talk a little bit about the future plans that we have for the team performance survey.
Thanks, Pam. One of the things I want to make sure that everyone's aware of, everyone is on mute. There is a chat and messenger application inside the presentation. So if you have questions throughout, go ahead and type them in, but we'll respond to those towards the end of the presentation. And then quickly, just so everyone's aware of what we're doing and why we're here today and making sure everyone is logging in for the right reason. So just quickly, some of the things that we'll be covering with the presentation. One is learn how one organization such as Spectrum decided to implement a diagnostic solution to better understand their intervention choice, as well as know the different dimensions of the team performance survey. That's going to be important as Pam goes over some of the data that they use to help understand one of the teams that they decided to help, and then understand how different results can highlight different needs for selected OD interventions.
Perfect. So let me start by talking a little bit about Spectrum Health. Spectrum Health is an integrated health system in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which means that we have hospitals, we have medical group, we have an integrated health plan. So right now we have 12 hospitals, and we're adding many more. We have 14 facilities, and that includes our Lemon Holton Cancer Pavilion as well as our Meyer Heart Center. We have 180 medical offices and service locations across the area, 700 members in our health insurance plan, Priority Health, 1,400 employed physicians and advanced practice providers, and over 24,000 employees. So we're the largest employer here in West Michigan. So one of the things about healthcare is that it's an industry undergoing massive change. We've got hospitals, medical practices, insurance companies. They're really all being forced to join together in order to find ways to be more efficient and effective. So new technologies, new competition, they're breaking old paradigms. So back to a little bit about Spectrum Health again. You can see that we have the 12 hospitals, 180 medical facilities, 700,000 members in the health plan, 14 physicians, APPs, advanced practice providers, and then 24,000 plus employees. So the industry is going through a massive change. And changing for us at Spectrum Health is not an option. And one microcosm of the change was resources. So we went through a transformation over the past 2 years. Combined staff from 9 different locations into one single location. So we had a variety of different entities across West Michigan.
And what you're telling us is that HR was part of a rather large organization, over 24,000 employees, but HR as its function was decentralized.
Pressure on the wall, etc. So one of the things that our with business partners and centers of expertise. One of the centers of expertise includes our group, which is the organizational development group. We also have talent acquisition, the Spectrum Health University, benefits, etc. We have over 200 plus employees, most of whom are located in this new open office environment, which is shown here in this picture. So I talked about Spectrum Health, talked a little bit about human resources, talked a little bit about our organizational development department at Spectrum. So our organizational development department, we really help grow great leaders, great teams, and capabilities for our future. So some of the things that we do to grow these great leaders, great teams, and capabilities for the future. So we have a lot of different focuses. We focus on team effectiveness. So we have a team that I manage that focuses specifically on change or team effectiveness. We do a lot of work around culture change and change management. We use assessments both for individual development as well as team development. Do talent planning work, succession planning, and workforce planning. So a lot of different cool stuff that we do within organizational development.
So Pam, I noticed that team effectiveness is there at the very top. So is that a heavy target for Spectrum Health?
Yeah, well, teams are very critical, and one of the things that we've known and the research shows is that we accomplish more as a team than individuals can do alone. So teamwork creates higher quality, more efficiencies, more effectiveness. So individuals also develop a lot of great skills through teamwork, mutual support, great sense of accomplishment. So teams are clearly critical. One of the things that we did to highlight this is we've embedded the whole teamwork concept into our behavioral competencies that we hold our leaders, emerging leaders, senior leaders accountable to. So we've got a variety of different components that call out the importance of team effectiveness within the organization. One of our core competencies, for example, for our leaders is developmental leadership. And that really is defined as reinforcing the focus on improving talent. And one of the ways to improve talent and create a high-performing feedback-rich culture is through team development. Okay?
Yeah, and just for the maybe some commentary from me is that what I think what we see in healthcare a lot is a high adoption rate of behaviorally based competencies and moving away from some of the more traditional performance management behaviors that people were responsible for, because that tended to be, I'd say, a laundry list of about 52 different things for you to remember to enact throughout the entire year. And more of that competency approach, it's, hey, here are the 5 things you need to do to be, really good at this organization and help us get to be a great organization, and really focusing on very few key things helps people, one, remember things, right? Phone numbers are short numbers for a reason. And imagine phone numbers being 52 digits, right? But it also allows you to put a few key things in your mind of what you need to be paying attention to day in and day out. Let's transition to the next slide so everyone understands how you are going about making teams more effective.
We do a variety of different things related to trust, collaboration skills, conflict management, which is in the form of crucial conversations, building collaboration and trust. DISC we use as a behavioral assessment to really help our folks be a little bit more flexible and adaptable and understand behaviors from a diversity and inclusive perspective. ADKAR, we use the ADKAR model for influencing. The ADKAR model is a change management model around awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and then reinforcement. StrengthsFinder, again, flexibility in different behavioral styles and different strengths, that inclusion and diversity perspective. We do survival simulations, which really focus on group decision making and the effectiveness of that versus individual decision making. And then ultimately we do use the ThinkWise Team Performance Survey, and that's what I'm going to focus on for a little bit right now. We decided on these various interventions based on our human resources business partners. They've really defined kind of what the biggest needs were within their client group, so we kind of built our portfolio around that. So the team performance survey. Why did we focus on the team performance survey?
So, Pam, why don't you help everyone understand, I guess, the team performance survey as its whole, and then how you go about using it within Spectrum Health, specifically within the team effectiveness group.
Sure. Yeah, so we've observed over the years of using team performance survey a variety of different benefits. And I'm not going to read through each of those benefits up here on the screen, but I am going to share with you a case study. So first of all, for those of you who are not familiar with the team performance survey, the team performance survey measures 7 different dimensions of an effective team. And those 7 dimensions, Steve, if you wouldn't mind sharing those.
No, not at all. So first, there's 7 dimensions that are critical to team performance and understanding. And within those dimensions, it's important to understand that they all have to be there. Where you may look at behaviorally based competencies where one may be important than the other, these are all equally weighted in how important and relevant they are in defining team performance as it relates to effectiveness. So first we have team alignment, and that's really just how well we are coming together. Team communication is kind of a no-brainer, but I would make sure everyone's aware that when teams are ineffective, communication tends to be one of the first observable behaviors of team breakdown. Now, it may be some other things like trust that are at the core, but people tend to be able to pick out that the communication's not as solid as it needs to be. Conflict management, which certainly ties into communication. And it's not that you want zero conflict management or zero conflict. You need them, conflict management to be actually pretty high. Innovation, as well as team process. We do need to know how well teams kind of flow and are dynamically working with each other and building on each other's work. Having a team orientation, kind of a we-ness, it's kind of a cultural perspective to have. And then trust, which we all know is at the center point of all teamwork. Pam?
Yeah, so let's talk about a case study. So a manager came to our team in organizational development, and she had some concerns about team dynamics and overall poor team performance. And we shared with her the team performance survey and the 7 different dimensions of effective teams. And she really thought that this was a good plan to implement this survey, review the results, then review the results collectively as a team, and then create some action plans with the team around the survey results. So this is the methodology that we used on the screen. We did that in 2014, created a variety of different implementation action plans, and then we resurveyed, again doing the same thing, reviewing the results with the leader, then the team, action plans, and then ultimately we reviewed the 2014 data versus the 2015 data and came up with some observations around that too. So let's start with 2014, and I'll just really briefly run through the 2014 summary of results. So as you can see here, this is kind of the overarching 7 different dimensions of effective team performance. And you can see there then that there's scores that range from 0 all the way up to 5. And these are pretty average, I would say.
That's very insightful, I think, Pam, first to say that these are pretty average. So when I'm looking at these 7 and I see everything's kind of right in the middle, is there anything from your lens? You are certainly a team effectiveness expert and understand organizational development really well in healthcare. What really jumps out on the screen when you look at it?
To be quite honest, none of this is really all that surprising. I mean, the culture of healthcare in general is a very nurturing, caring, collaborative environment, and the culture is such that, you know, we don't necessarily want to rock the boat. There's a lot of individuals who do show up on the DISC assessment as very S or steady, and that means, again, very collaborative folks who don't necessarily want to cause rifts. So they tend to rate things a little bit more neutral or end up on the positive side. And those who might have a negative perception of the team oftentimes don't respond. So we have to take that with a bit of a grain of salt. So we reviewed the results with the team leader. We then reviewed the results with the team themselves and identified the top strengths from their results. And you'll see that there are 2 in green, and those 2 were actually the 2 that the team prioritized as strengths that they want to focus on. One of the methodologies that we use is we focus on both strengths and development opportunities. It's real important not to ignore the strengths of teams and to really help them bolster those strengths too. So even though other scores may have shown up as higher than those 2 in the green, these are the 2 that the team prioritized that they want to continue to work on and develop some action plans to continue to work on. So the action plans that they created for those particular competencies are related to accountability, creating task ownership, communication, respecting others' times, mentoring accountability, and crucial conversations. So you'll see that some of them are underlined and bolded. Those are specifically things that the organizational development / team effectiveness team has stuff in our toolkit to address. So we kind of knew right off the bat that there were some interventions that we could implement within that team to build on their strengths. We also looked at the second one, which was showing support and concern for its members. So a couple action plans, again, celebrating success, golden tickets, hiring more FTEs, which isn't always possible. But the 2 that we underlined and bolded are related to, again, our team effectiveness services, related to understanding verbal, nonverbal cues and intent, and then collaboration and being inclusive. Did the same then with the opportunities. So we listed the lowest scoring items. We had the team multi-vote then on which they thought were the highest priority, lowest scoring items that they really wanted to focus in on. And again, you'll notice that trust or avoiding gossip was one of the lower ones, but that wasn't prioritized. The 2 that were prioritized were transparent communication and dealing directly with difficult or sensitive topics. So again, the methodology that we followed is that we created some action plans based on these 2. How are we going to address the opportunities that were prioritized by the team? Again, the bolded underlined item is one of the things that we have in our toolkit from a team effectiveness perspective. Communications consistent based on style. So that was for addressing the transparency and communication. And then dealing directly with difficult or sensitive topics, we also have some other tools in our toolkit that can really be used to improve that particular area. And that's some action plans around communication, again, and communicating directly with individuals involved. So in looking at the various action plans, we figured out some recommendations. So we looked at the results, we looked at the action plans, and we figured out some recommendations of things that we wanted to do related to these particular strengths and these particular opportunities. So again, on the left are the things that we have in our toolkit that we can utilize to help keep the lines of communication open, crucial conversations or coaching, understand verbal and nonverbal cues, etc. So our recommendations is we wanted to implement DISC within the team. Again, we wanted to implement DISC to really help understand behavioral styles, provide a better foundation for that team to communicate, collaborate, and really focus on kind of the inclusion and diversity of different behaviors. It also helps people recognize verbal and nonverbal cues and ultimately intent. We wanted to also implement with that team crucial conversations. Crucial conversations, again, would kind of address some of those things such as conflict management, giving clear and immediate feedback when there are difficult situations. Strengths Finder, again, we also wanted to make sure that we better understand our strengths for better collaboration, creating this inclusive environment, and really ultimately allocating resources based on strengths. So the team implemented these action plans. Our team effectiveness team implemented and facilitated the DISC workshop, crucial conversations, and strengths finder. We then resurveyed the group back in 2015. So remember, those were 2014 results, 2015 results right here. So again, these are the overall 7. dimensions of effective teams. So
Pam, what I notice here is that there seem to be some sizable changes, and I know you're going to explain more in the presentation, but similar to the intake assessment, what are some things, again, with your level of expertise that jump out with this resurvey?
Well, I think the biggest thing that jumped out to us is that they all went up, and the things that went up the most were some of the areas that we did end up focusing on, and that's kind of the next piece of information that we want to share with you. So looking at 2014 to 2015 comparison, the differences in the green bar over on the right are the amount that each of those particular overall scores went up. So all positive, everything went up in that sense. So as you see, both strengths went up, both opportunities went up. And what that told us is that we implemented the right interventions to affect both of those strengths as well as both of those opportunities. So we oftentimes forget to focus on strengths, and again, it's just as important to focus on our strengths as it is to focus on our opportunities. So let's take a detailed look at year-to-year comparison. You're the numbers guy. So
yeah, happy to. Thank you, Pam. So, I mean, one of the things that jumps out on the screen for some folks, if you notice the green bar, you're going to see the difference column. And here it's letting you know the changes over time between 14 and 15. But they're not random. That's the reason for the statistics to be applied. A lot of things can be measured, remeasured, and just life in general in between those two measures can happen and change things. But what Spectrum did here was take a look at the intervention work that you guys did with the team effectiveness interventions with this team specifically, and what you did was operate a very particular statistic called a one-tailed two-sample t-test, right? That's a mouthful, but what does that really mean? I mean, this is a way for everyone that's listening to understand that it's a very particular statistical test that's used to where you can help understand whether or not your intervention worked. Right, so anything on that one-tailed two-sample t-test column, anything that is at 0.05 and below is a direct correlation to your intervention work having the effect on that change, essentially. So everything that's in yellow, as you had mentioned, statistically is significant and improved, and that's really commendable. It's really hard to do. I think with some of the averageness, if you will, that was going on with this group. The importance of that 0.05, though, is basically saying is 5%. And that's 5% that your intervention was not effective. 95% is essentially saying that the results are likely due to your intervention work and your area of expertise. So overall, the results are great, and they're significant across. So it's commendable, and it's a lot of hard work to see that much progress, I think.
So when we did the comparison of 2014 and 2015, we definitely had a lot of excitement generated seeing these statistically significant numbers and knowing that what we're actually doing is making an impact, and in particular making an impact on that team. So the team isn't planning on stopping there. There's a variety of different things that team is going to continue to implement over time. And maybe one of them would be, for example, crucial confrontations. And that would be a follow-on to the crucial conversations.
Sure.
And again, that would really help with conflict management and still build on the improvement for that. So there's a lot of things that we additionally have used TPS for.
Yeah. So Pam, why don't you tell the audience what exactly a talent stream is and why you guys chose to implement such just a new concept in a very massive organization.
Yeah. So a talent stream basically is a time for our leaders across the system to pause and collect data, and this data is on our leaders' performance and potential. And this information then is used kind of as an input to other initiatives. So our succession planning processes, university course eligibility, mobility opportunities. So this performance potential data is really critical to a lot of the things that we do within human resources. So we get a group of leaders together. They discuss their downline leaders on those two different dimensions, performance and potential. So that's really what a talent stream includes, is a group of leaders getting together to discuss with people. Something that hadn't been done in the past, and something that a lot of our leaders are finding very beneficial and very valuable, to focus on these people versus focusing on more of the process and getting things done, the bigger picture. So we have been in continuous improvement with our talent stream processes over the years. And one of the things that we wanted to test this year was test different dimensions. So we tested performance and potential. That's really what we use across the system. That's our standard talent stream, performance, potential on a 9-box. What we wanted to test in one of our pilots is we wanted to change the axes up a little bit, and we wanted to see how leaders did related to team performance versus individual leadership performance or individual leadership behaviors. So we had these teams take the team performance survey, and we collected the data, we presented the information during the actual talent streams, and we plotted then where that leader fell along the 3-box, high, medium, low team performance. And then we also talked about the leader's behaviors or individual performance. So instead of our 9-box being performance and potential, our 9-box was the team performance along the bottom axis, and then the individual leader performance or individual leader behaviors along the vertical axis. So it was really a cool process to use, and the leaders found it extremely valuable to take team performance into consideration, especially given light to the fact that one of our core values across Spectrum Health is teamwork. And putting that focus on the teamwork has really kind of drawn attention to it, and quite honestly has made our shop pretty busy within organizational development, team effectiveness stuff. Yeah, so another place that we've used the team performance survey was in a very large project that we're implementing. We use the team performance across 10 primary care practice sites who are in the process of really implementing team-based care. So we took a pulse using the team performance survey of these 10 sites, came up with some collective interventions across those 10 sites, and we're now in the process of meeting with each of those practice managers, site leads, and our directors of operations for each of those 10 sites to really delve into the specific results of that practice, then do some action planning with the team as a whole, and then implement the interventions, with the idea, again, that we'll probably repulse check using the team performance survey in about 6 months to a year to make sure that the needle has moved in terms of team performance. So, great stuff. It's really exciting to think about all of the opportunities that we have using the team performance survey. So from an organizational team development perspective, we have a ton of future plans for that too. What we're going to do and what we're hoping to do is really utilize the team performance survey kind of as an entry point for client team effectiveness work. So rather than getting these one-off requests, hey, I want a disc, or hey, come to my retreat and facilitate something on trust and collaboration, we want to use the team performance survey kind of as an entry point for team effectiveness work. So it would really help us to diagnose and prescribe team effectiveness interventions based on the results of that. So similar to what we did with the case study that I mentioned earlier, is they would take the assessment, we would look at the results, analyze those, and then really figure out what types of interventions they need in that particular team based on the results. Much more proactive, much less reactive. So if trust is low, for example, we would prescribe based on that. So maybe our first recommendation would be a workshop on team trust and collaboration. And then we would kind of create a curriculum, if you will, around team effectiveness and sequence activities based on kind of the priority of the results from the team performance survey.
I want to add a little bit, Pam. One of the things I thought was pretty important for you to pick out earlier was the reason the talent streams are happening, or at least one of them. I know there's more than one reason you do things, but one of them that caught my attention was that leaders were not typically talking about the talent, the people that make up their teams, right? And there's a lot of cliches that are out there about, there's the most important thing in business are people. And I would, as a psychologist, and you're an organizational development expert, you would agree too that that's absolutely true. But the reality of when work is to get done, are people really treated that way, or are they treated like a cog? And then when it comes to really difficult conversations about their people, how much information do they really know about them? And I think that's almost reflected in one of the first survey that you guys did with conflict management. I don't want to talk about the difficulties I have with my people or the difficulty I have in managing my people, therefore I won't, right? So I think that the talent stream pilots that you're doing are really going to push a culture shift inside Spectrum.
Sure, we definitely hope that to be the case. Again, more focus on our leaders using these talent streams. As Steve mentioned, there's a whole lot of studies that people don't leave an organization for, due to compensation or due to XYZ, but they leave organizations because of their leaders. So we really want to focus on building our leaders and giving them the skills to help their teams, help the individuals on their teams to do that. And ultimately, the talent streams are one way we can really call attention to leadership talent across the organization and, bolster up our culture around people versus around process and that type of thing. So absolutely, we see those things all the time.
Yeah. Thanks, Pam. I just wanted to pause and talk about that talent stream thing, because I think that's a very crucial point you made about making everyone pause. And I met someone at one point in time that talked about pause as being a purposeful pause, and let's intentionally stop and really reflect on why we're here, and that's really around people, the value that people have, which is extremely high, especially in healthcare. It's extremely high because there's so much dependencies, or interdependencies, maybe the right word, on collaboration. And that draws out yet another team component on how important it is that we work together, and we work together well. Handoffs are important, not just on the operational side, but on the medical side and patient-centered side. Do you see in healthcare in general, not necessarily just Spectrum Health, do you see where collaborative efforts are really taking place in the business of medicine, and how that may impact OD and HR?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, one of the other applications that we've been using the team performance survey for is in these 10 practice sites. Primary care practice sites. Our primary care practice sites are really transitioning to more of a patient-centered model of care, and we're bringing in a variety of what we call allied health professionals into those practices. So behavioral health, pharmacy, case management. So really providing more of a holistic experience for patients. And as Steve mentioned, that is clearly going to require a high degree of collaboration, a degree of collaboration that those practices may not have needed before. So, implementing this survey, following up with some key items around better collaboration, building better trust, all of those types of things are going to be critical for the success of this new patient-centered medical home model that is being implemented.
So I think one additional thing, and then we can move on, Pam, is that I think one of the things you're really bringing up is the work that you're doing is you're trying to highlight the truths that are going on within the team efforts, and removing assumptions. Right? And I know I'll grin when we say the word assumption sometimes, but I think that you have to do that when there's collaborative effort, because if you walk around with a chain of events where people are involved, and you have assumptions that are going on, there's so much missed opportunity to get things done well. And when patients are at the center of getting things done well, a lot of failures can happen.
Absolutely. I just want to highlight too is that the department chief over primary care, who is really leading the efforts along with his dyad partner, the vice president of operations, The two of them together looked at the data from these 10 sites, team performance survey results, and collectively said that this was the best set of data that they have seen in the last 6 months. So extremely impactful, extremely important for moving forward and making the whole team-based care be a success. So it was definitely valued, appreciated, and now we just need to move forward and make sure that the interventions that we implement do make an impact.
Great. So, Pam, I think we left off with the slide where you're using the team performance survey as an entry point.
Yep.
And you'll use it as a back end as well to measure what level of success has happened within that particular team.
Sure.
One of the, I think the great value, Pam, of you talking with the audience today is to move away from just talking about what the results say and what the in the trenches feel of having that data really looks like, sounds like, and how you can get out of those trenches, right? Because you can't sit there all day. And really operationalize the strategic value of having information and how you can leverage that from one team, but across 24,000. Exactly. And how collecting that kind of data can give you great eyesight into what you're doing. I just want to let everyone know that we're certainly going to wrap things up. If you do have questions, what you can do is go ahead and email me. It's at sgriffin@thinkwiseinc.com. And if they're for Pam Haffenden specifically, I will act as her filter and handler, so to speak, and pass them on to Pam. We certainly promise to get some answers and responses back to you before the end of the week. I think that would be certainly fair to help everyone out that's on the call. We want to appreciate everyone for being on the call. And Pam, I just wanted to ask if you wanted to leave anything with anyone that's listening still.
Yeah, so, one final thought, how do you gauge team effectiveness in your organizations? Whether you use the team performance survey or some other method, I really challenge you to take the step to prepare your organization for the future. We drive better business results. We really get to where we want to be through effective teaming. So think about that. Think about how you gauge team performance, what you do with those results to ultimately drive better business results. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk with all of you today. We've got great stuff. So if you do have any questions for me, feel free to email Steve, as he mentioned, and be happy to address those. So thank you.
Pam, thanks a lot. I know you're extremely busy. So taking this amount of time out of your day means that there's somebody on fire probably. So I do appreciate it and certainly respect your expertise. So it was great having you in to talk to the ThinkWise audience. Just for everyone that's on the call, this is recorded and will be posted on the website, which can certainly be downloaded. Everyone that's in attendance will also get the set of slides that we'll be emailing out after a while to you as well. And without further ado, I just want to thank everyone for taking the time out in their day. I know it's busy and you're tuning out of something in order to tune into us, so I appreciate that. So with that, everyone have a great Wednesday and get back to the rest of your week. Thanks.